Welcome to 90s Gay, where we take a deep dive into queer art and culture from the golden era of the 90s. On this episode, we cover some of the greatest moments in 90s cinema, as we conclude our chat with creative genius, Mr. Vincent Paterson. Vincent lifts the curtain on working with the incomparable Robin Williams, and discusses creating the legendary dance scene in their film, The Birdcage. Not only was this film a box office smash, but it also provided some groundbreaking representation. This was a mainstream Hollywood film with a gay couple as the two lead characters. Vincent then gives us his insight of Madonna's transformation into Eva Peron, as he reunites with her to work on the biggest film role of her career, Evita. We also discuss the upcoming Michael Jackson and Madonna biopics. So, grab your popcorn and let's call action on this episode of 90s Gay.
Incredible. Well, speaking of movies, you mentioned earlier about Birdcage. When you think of gay cinema and gay characters in movies, I mean, that movie is just incredible. And that scene, the Fosse, just mind-blowing. I can't imagine being able to get... first of all, I've got so many thoughts about it. First of all, I can't imagine Robin Williams doing multiple takes of that. Was there just the one take?
Well, the way that happened, when I had, Mike Nichols had already asked Tommy Tune to do that movie. But when I heard it was happening, I knew that movie I was supposed to do that movie. I knew it. And I asked my agent to please set up a meeting with Mike Nichols. And she said, "Do you know Mike Nichols?" And I said, "I don't know him personally, but I think I'm the person to do this movie." So she contacted his office. He flew me to New York. I sat with him. And he said, "Well, I've already asked my friend Tommy Tune to do this." And I said, "Well, Mike, I love Tommy Tune. I think he's amazing. But, I know how to work with women. I know how to make women really sexy. And you need to have guys who are going to be women, sexy women. And I know how to do that." And so it became a love affair. I mean, professionally, not physically, but professionally. And he invited me there from the first table read with everybody sitting around the table at Paramount reading it. And I was there from the beginning to the end of the film. He wanted me to, he said, anytime, not just what happens in the club, but anytime you think you can put your finger in here and make something happen, let me know. So I did, I did the little thing with Hank Azaria to the Gloria Estefan piece in the kitchen. And I did Robin and Christine dancing, Baranski dancing together, reminiscing, and I worked with the parents and them all dancing together in the living room, and just little things, that, again, you don't think that a choreographer does. So I was down on the set that day that they were shooting that scene with Nathan, and Robin came right, they had done one take, and all that was written in the script was that, as written, the dancer, before Robin leaves the room, the dancer says, "Well, what do I do? Do I just stand here and look like an object?" And all that was written was, "No, you do the eclectic celebration of the dance." And he walked off. That was it. So they did a couple takes of that. Robin came to me and he said, "Vince, come here." He goes, I'm so tired of playing the straight gay man. I've got to be funny. I have to do something funny. Can you create something funny for me?" And I said, "When?" He goes, Now. Can you do it now?" And I said, "Oh my God. All right, well, go do another take or two. Let me go work on something. And then you come running back and I'll teach it to you." So that's what he did. I taught it to him behind the set, and he went back out. They shot it, and he did the eclectic celebration of the dance. Well, of course, everybody thought he was improvising, and everybody started laughing. So the take was no good. And Mike Nichols and Elaine May were laughing as well, as was Nathan Lane. And Mike said, "That was very, very funny, Robin, but let's do what we did before." And Robin said, "Well, I didn't do that. That was Vince. Vince created that for me, And Mike said, "Well, let's go back and do what Elaine wrote." And Robin got down on his hands and knees and crawled across the set to Mike and pulled on his pant legs and said, "Please, Mike, please shoot it. Please shoot it." And Mike said, "All right, boys, this is what we'll do. When I'm happy that I have the version that I want, we'll do a couple takes of this. And then, so we have it, but I don't want either of you to be depressed if it doesn't show up in the movie." So we never thought it was ever going to show up in the movie. We really didn't. And then Elaine, of course, later wrote those words in there that I had created for him, and then it became part of the script. And as we all know, part of the film and one of the most exciting and fun highlights of the whole film. So
Absolutely.
very fun.
Tell me about working with Robin Williams. I can't even imagine being able to. He just seems like this crazy ball of energy. To be able to streamline and teach him something, I can't imagine being able to.
Well, I had worked with him several times before. There was a television show called Comic Relief, and Robin and Billy Crystal and Whoopi Goldberg. It was a big charity event, and it happened annually. I think for maybe about, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. And for 3 of those years, I guess, I choreographed the opening number for the 3 of them. So I had worked with Robin already a little bit. And then I directed a project for Ted Turner about the world of Dr. Seuss. And I contacted Robin and asked him if he would do The Cat in the Hat as a Seussian father, and if he would bring his daughter and read the book to her in bed. And of course, he took that and just ran with it. It was absolutely nuts what he did. So this was like maybe my 4th or 5th time working with him. So we already kind of had a relationship, and I knew how he worked and all of that. And, no, he was very focused. My God, he could never have done the things he did if he wasn't as focused as he was. But then he had that other whole personality where he loved to have people entertained. He loved to make people laugh. He loved to be the center of attention that way. And that's why I thought this whole eclectic celebration would work so well and seem so natural, And it did. It didn't seem like out of character for his character to do that. It just felt fine. And he was so totally thrilled because it was exactly what he had asked me for,
Magic.
His fun moment.
Again, magic.
Yeah.
Thinking of another film that you worked on, Evita with Madonna. This is now reconnecting with her again, and the public perception would be that she had gone through a major evolution and had changed drastically from the Blonde Ambition days through to Evita. Was that your experience working with her? I guess that vocally she had changed, venturing into motherhood. She seemed to be in a very different place in her life. Would you say, is that true to assume?
Well, the motherhood happened at the very end of the film. So she was just got pregnant when we were kind of 3/4 of the way through shooting. Like I said, both Michael and Madonna, these superstars don't just get there out of luck. They are very focused individuals. And she was extremely focused. I mean, just as intense as Michael was in a whole different way. So she wanted this role. She wanted it badly. And interesting for me, I had been through 3 almost incarnations of this, of Evita. The first one was going to be with Meryl Streep. The second one, it was a different director. The second one was going to be with Meryl Streep and a dancer, Louise Le Cavalier, who dances in Montreal, playing Evita's alter ego. And that was the second one. And then the third one was with Alan Parker, and that's the one that got made. So it wasn't Madonna who asked me to do the film. It was Alan who asked me to do the film.
Interesting.
But, right away, I got in touch with Madonna, and we started talking about it and what should she do. And I found her some tango teachers that she did really intense training with when she was in New York. They were from Argentina, but they happened to be in New York. And she worked with them for weeks and did that. And I know she worked very hard on the vocals. But this was one of her dreams. She wanted to do this. And, I thought she was pretty flawless, to be honest with you. I really couldn't imagine anybody else doing it. I'm sure Meryl Streep would have done an amazing job, but the reality is this was, in a way, a long-form music video. And Madonna had already done so many that she was so natural at it. She didn't have to think about the singing and being filmed and dancing and all of that. She had done it already. So there was nobody that I could see that was better apt for that role than Madonna. And I'm so proud of her, what she did. And I really thought that she should have received the Academy Award, but at least she got the Golden Globe. And that was a real feather in her cap. But she wanted to be taken seriously, you know. And Evita helped that a little bit, you know. And she was brilliant. She was really, really brilliant. And it just shows what a great artist can do, that they can be a chameleon. They can be this, and then they can turn it around and be this. And she was the consummate Evita for me.
Yeah.
I thought she was terrific. Absolutely terrific.
She was incredible in that film. The fact that you could watch the film and take Madonna out of the equation and you were swept into the whole world and the character and everything. I mean, I guess that's part of the fear of casting Madonna in a movie, is that the audience it's very hard for them not to see Madonna. But in Evita, you buy her as the character.
Oh, well, you just look at the one song, you know, where she's dying, "You Must Love Me." I mean, you can't watch it without crying. It was so heartfelt and honest. And I thought she did a brilliant, brilliant job.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't know if she's a very good actress. I really don't. I mean, I don't think she's done great in the other films she's been in. I think she's a pretty good director with what she's done, the film that she did. But as an actress, I haven't been that impressed. But on the other hand, I think that it could be because the directors might be intimidated by Madonna. And, you know, she's a very strong woman. She's very strong. She has very strong opinions. And, you know, it's very easy to be intimidated by her. And I kind of have a feeling maybe that's what happened on the other films. But with this, her acting was while she was singing. And she was used to doing that. It was what she had been training for, so to speak, for 15 years, you know, prior to. So it was just so natural that you never thought about it. And if anybody on the project was skeptical, the first piece that we did with her singing and moving in one of the tango bars changed everybody's opinion. Immediately, everybody started saying, "I smell an Academy Award. Wow. I smell an Academy Award." That's what everybody on the set was saying, even after the very first shoot, you know. Wow. So, no, it was the role she was destined to play.
Yeah,
I really believe that.
Yeah, incredible. Another show that you worked on was the Cirque du Soleil Elvis show. Have you seen the Elvis movie, the Baz Luhrmann movie? Did you have thoughts on the Elvis life story being translated into a film?
Well, I didn't have a great experience on working with Cirque du Soleil. They are, I guess I'm accustomed to having a lot of freedom. And what happens with Cirque du Soleil is they give you all the freedom that you want. And then just when the show is about to go up, the big guy comes in and changes everything. And you have no rights. And luckily, I was one of the few directors who created their shows who was not fired. I did see it through to the end, but I wasn't happy with the show itself because they made so many changes, contradicted everything they told me they wanted to make a show that had nothing to do with what I had created. But I thought that Baz's take on Elvis was fantastic. I loved the movie. I thought it was really well done. I enjoyed it. It was part fantasy, part reality. But hey, you know, when you're dealing with stars of that caliber, it is part fantasy and part reality. Their lives are part fantasy and part reality. So, you know, to me, you kind of have a certain license to be as out there as you want to be.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah. Well, there's the Madonna biopic, which is apparently on hold at the moment. And then there's a Michael Jackson one, which I've heard is in development. But I'd like to pitch a little idea to you, because the way to I think link those two stories together and have an incredible film is your life story. I think that Vincent's life story, you can't write that story. Like that would be.
It's funny, you know. My friend who helped me co-write the book. Actually, I wrote my book because I was directing a play and for this playwright. And there was a documentary that had been done about me by a Swedish filmmaker, and it showed at Los Angeles County Museum of Art. And my friend, the writer, went down to see it with a bunch of people. And afterwards, she came up to me and said, you really need to write a book. I said, I don't write. I don't really write. She goes, wait, first of all, you're a choreographer. Choreographers write. And I said, well, that's true, because if your audience doesn't know, I will tell you, you get a script and the script says, and then they danced. And it's up to you to conceive everything that happens, not only the movement and the steps, but the idea, the place. Often you work with the wardrobe people, everybody, So I thought, well, I don't know. She said, have you ever written anything? And I said, well, when I traveled around the world working, I wrote journals to friends because it was before computers. And so I would write these diaries, and I would come home and I would print them up, and they'd be 150 pages of my experience. And I'd give them to like about 8 or 10 people that were closest to me. So I gave her a couple of these to read, and she said, you can write. So we started to write the book. And then it's a fascinating situation. A few people have now come to us and said, you should really do a one-man show based on this book, or there should be a movie about your life based on this book, because it ties all of these celebrities together. But so far nothing's happened, Joel. But I'm not against it. But who knows? I don't think it's.
Did you have any nerves or hesitation with writing the book? With maybe I don't know, telling tales out of school, or annoying people that maybe you have put a story out there that maybe, I don't know, some artists might like to keep that mystique there. And I mean, the audience loves that. We want to know, the history and the backstory of these iconic works.
Well,
did you have any nerves?
Well, the intention of my book was not to make it a tabloid piece. No. I didn't write to, create an expose on anybody. What I did write it about was my process and my interaction with all of these different celebrities, whether they be directors or producers or singers or actors or whomever, And I thought that by telling the story through my eyes, it would give a completely fresh insight to how these amazing celebrities work, their process, their work process. That's what I wanted to discuss. That's what I wanted to talk about. And that's what I wanted to share with the world, better or worse. Some of the experiences that I had were not so good. And I wanted to share those as well. But I say at the very beginning of the book, in the little intro, that these are my memories. This is what I remember. Everybody remembers something different. I know I sit and talk to my brothers and sister, and we talk about Christmases when we were little, and none of the 5 of us remember it exactly alike.
Yeah.
So, everybody's going to remember every situation a little differently. But this was my life. This was how I remember things. And that's what I wanted to share. And I think it's a fair book. I think it's a very fair assessment of everybody that I worked with. And I never tried to turn the public against anybody for any reason. I never tried to share anything, especially the only thing that I shared that I had never shared with people was the sexual conversation I had with Michael Jackson when I met him to do Smooth Criminal. He'd asked me about being gay and stuff like that. Now, I never had anything on my gaydar that said Michael Jackson has a gay bone in his body. I never thought that, and I still never think. I don't think he ever had a gay experience. I don't think he was ever interested in a gay experience. But, Michael was on one hand, he was a genius. On the other hand, he was 12 years old. So, when he would ask me these questions about sex, it was like I was talking to my brothers when I was a kid, and they were younger than me. And, we just talked about things because there was nobody else to talk to, and I didn't have a dad around. So, we just discussed these things. And so some of these conversations with Michael and just that one I shared, I just thought I wanted to share it because I wanted to let people know that we did have a beautiful intimacy in terms of working relationship and friendship. and also that he was curious, and also that he never had a personal life. You know, I mean, all those years growing up, he was secluded and he was isolated and insulated, and he never had anybody to talk to. He never introduced me to one friend. He never had one friend outside of the business. In 17 years I worked with him, not one person did he ever introduce me to who wasn't part of the entourage or
The machine.
the hair and makeup or whatever, you know. So I just wanted to share those things. And I wanted to share also in the book not only about them, but the situation with choreographers, what happens to them, and the lack of credit, and the fact that there's a union forming. And I thought it was very important because I had spoken to a lot of people, and many people didn't even realize that choreographers didn't get Academy Awards. They thought Academy Awards were given to choreographers in the technical section, off camera. I mean, I can't tell you how many people have written to me and said, my God, Vince, I didn't even know choreographers didn't get Academy Awards. So it was a lot about informing the public about not only people that they have heard about in so many ways over the last several decades, but also to let them know what goes on from my perspective and my life and the things I've encountered as an artist and a professional in this business.
Yeah.
So.
It's the most incredible story. I mean, it goes without saying that you've had multiple lives in terms of how much you've achieved and accomplished and the places you've gone and the impact that you've had. It's actually hard to believe that it's one person's story. The book has gotten rave reviews, and I can't stress enough how much people have to go out and pick up a copy of Icons and Instincts. It's just incredible to think that all of this work came from one guy, and this life story is just, spectacular.
Oh, thank you so much, Joel. Share one more thing with you. It's funny. When Lars von Trier was doing his film, Dancer in the Dark, he had called my agent, because she's the biggest dance choreography agent in Los Angeles. Her name is Julie McDonald. And he said, apparently, I'm looking for the person that did this, this, and this. And they were all me. And my agent said, oh, you don't have to go very far. That's all one person, you know? Yeah. It was like, oh my God, that was so cool, you know? So anyway, yeah, I have had multiple lives, and they've all been fascinating, and they've all been interesting. And that's the nature of this business. You know, you come into a project, you work on it for anywhere from 2 days to 6 years, and then you move on to something else. And so our life of a performer is episodic, as the book is. And that's the other thing I wanted to do about the book. I didn't want to necessarily make it chronological, or, you know, it is an episodic book. You can pick it up, you can read a story, you can put it down and come back to it a couple of days later or a week later, pick up and read another story, you know. So at least that's what I've been hearing from people. That's one of the things they enjoy. Where other people are crazy and they said, I picked it up and I couldn't put it down, and I read it through the entire weekend. I couldn't stop. Yeah. So, you know, it's nice both ways, but it's just nice that I've touched people, and some beautiful things have happened from that with some young gay people or older gay people now who, and I might get teary here, but have written me and said, you know, I read the book and I didn't even realize that, you know, when I was young and I had no friends and my parents didn't want to have anything to do with me. And I would be in the basement and I would do the choreography of Madonna or Michael, and it gave me something to live for. And I realized after I read the book that it was you. And, you know, just nothing makes you feel better than that, you know? So, God.
That's beautiful.
Sorry.
Oh, don't apologize.
Get emotional.
Just beautiful to think the impact that you've had on people's lives. It's crazy to think how an image or a thought in your mind can spread literally around the globe and impact so many people's lives, whether that be they see a music video that you've created and that changes the course of their life. They then say, I want to take up dance class. And they then go on to have as a professional dancer, somebody that sees, you know, a great piece of work that
Yeah,
you've done in a film and think, I'd love to get into the entertainment industry. I'd love to get into, like, the impact is second to none. You can't even imagine the way that that has informed people's everything,
you
style.
can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really can't. It blows me away, and I'm not even famous. I mean, and when you think about what people that are famous, how they influence people
Mm,
that they don't even know about, that they're
mm,
totally unaware.
mm.
And I think, my gosh, if it happens with me, boy,
Yeah.
how does it happen with them?
Yeah.
Incredible.
With all of the success and all of the incredible acclaim that you've had, you seemingly have remained very level headed, down to earth. You're a humble guy. You're very kind. What do you think's been able to enable you to not lose yourself in the process in this whirlwind of a life?
Love, love, friendship, and my husband. Um, we've been together now for 15 years, married for 10 years. And yeah, I think it's love. And I think it's, and friendship, and I think when you have good friends who you trust and who are as honest as you are and who are not afraid to tell you if you're veering off course a little bit and pull you back, that's what I think good friends are there for, their family. And I really think that's it. I'm grateful that I have this life that I've had, and I am. I'm just appreciative of all the people that gave me those opportunities, and I'm appreciative that I was able to be inspired and to create that work, and it is good work and sometimes great work, and I never think of it as mine necessarily. I mean, yes, I do, but I also think that as an artist, as a choreographer, especially even more than a director, that somehow the images come through. I call it in my book sticking my finger into the electric socket of creativity, and and I think that it just comes through you, and we are kind of these vessels for that. And so the consequence of that is I've always felt that it's bigger than me, that it's not just me, it's bigger than me. And I think that part of that has kind of kept me a little humble. And Yeah, and I think it's just my personality. Sometimes I wish I had a little bit more of that Madonna in me, you know, so I could have done some things that I wanted to do that didn't happen. But anyway, I'm grateful for the life I've had and grateful for the life I'm living. Yeah.
Incredible. Incredible. Well, I'm so serious about the film. I totally see the book as just the most incredible film that tells a story um, of your life, but also brings the acclaim and the credit to choreographers, like we've been speaking about,
Mm.
being able to show the person behind the scenes who has such a big hand in bringing this to life, but also shows specifically with Michael and Madonna these two icons at the peak of their power, at a massive turning point in
Yeah.
pop culture. I mean, that's
Yeah.
the film that people want to see. So
Yeah.
if you can
It
channel
would be interesting. It would be
if you can channel
fun.
that girl busting Madonna energy, it's not too late to be able to slam some fists on tables and say we are making this movie, because that's the film that people want. Just incredible.
Well, I'm wondering if I'm going to be included in Madonna's biopic, and I'm wondering if I am included in it, I
Who's
wonder who she's going to pick to play me. Of course, I want Brad Pitt to play me, but what can I say?
Amazing. Oh, spectacular. Well, Vincent, I've kept you for so long. I've kept you for twice the amount of time that I had asked for. So thank you
Oh
so,
my God, I had no
so
idea.
much for being so gracious and so kind to do this with me today.
Thanks, Joel. Thank you for
Absolutely.
being interested, and thank you for this conversation. And your questions were great and inspiring. I can't tell you how many people, will. I'll start an interview and they ask a question. Well, what's it like working with Michael Jackson? It's like, oh, come on, please. I wrote a book about that. Be a little bit more specific. And it's been a joy. It's really been a joy, and I appreciate it. So
Thank
thank
you.
you.
That's so kind of you to say. It's an honor to chat with you. Been very. I think the first
My
time I
honor.
became aware of there was a TV special about dance years and years ago now, and you were interviewed in it. and it had clips of Paula Abdul and Michael Jackson and Madonna, and it blew my
Oh
mind.
yeah, it was called Everybody Dance Now.
Yes.
It was called Everybody Dance Now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that was a long time ago.
Yeah. So since then, I've been like very aware of your. I mean, obviously, I knew the work prior to that, but I just think that you're just spectacular. So it's been an absolute privilege and honor to get to chat.
Thanks for watching this episode of 90s Gay. Make sure to go back and check out episode 1, where Vincent discusses creating for Michael Jackson.
I brought it up to Michael and I said, I have this crazy idea, man, that I want you to, do this, you and the guys that you're with, to do this lean, and then you come back up. And he goes, well, how do we do it?
And episode 2, where he talks about his many years as Madonna's creative partner.
We were doing the Like a Prayer section, and I said, okay, now I want you guys to lift her. And she said, I don't want to be lifted like some girl. And I said, no, not like a girl, Madonna, like a queen. And she said, lift me, guys.
To catch future episodes, be sure to subscribe to this channel. Leave a comment below and let us know what you think. Make sure you join our community on Instagram at 90sgay, and we will see you next time.